Welcome back, everyone, to another incredible episode of Chat with Dan here for today on the show. What can I say? We're having an incredible, super badass Tuesday because we have here the incredible, the amazing, the badass, the superstar, the legendary, the one and only, even a superhero. Let's find out why. The incredible Grace. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic. As I was saying here, what better way to have an incredible, super badass Tuesday than to be chatting with someone as badass as you? So, pretty cool. Now, if you are new to the channel, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, follow. It helps a lot. But also in the description below, you're going to find all of Grace's social media. Let's follow her. Let's find out why she's super badass. We're on a mission right now. And without further ado, let's jump in. So I want to start this whole conversation by throwing out the very first question, which is, when you first stepped into acting, tell me, what did you think that it would give you and what has it given you?
I think when I first stepped in, I was really thought it would give me a positivity. I thought I would forever get that like childlike wonder. Thought I'd meet a lot of great people. I thought it would bring me a ton of just happiness, a feeling of belonging somewhere, meeting people. And it definitely has given me all of those things. To this day, if I'm having the worst day of my life, I can literally just, think about a scenario in my head or even watch something on TV or, write something down. But, to be honest, it's also brought me sadness and times of being down because it's the kind of business where you can't obviously always make it your main job. For very few of us it can be your main job, and so it does bring you a lot of sadness when it comes to rejection. And you not only have to impress to get an agent, you have to impress so many other people above that just to get seen and kind of fight for yourself. But I will say another amazing thing though is that I always thought I would just be an actress, but going through classes and things like that, I've gotten into editing, directing, producing, writing, and even doing like YouTube. I have my own YouTube channel, things that I never thought that I would do. So it's actually really exciting to kind of know that I got into all of that.
It takes one thing for you to jump to the next one and the next one, and then once you're realizing, you're kind of exploring. And the cool thing is that they are kind of in the same realm,
Right.
so it's
Mhm.
great for you to have being able to connect different things here. And at the same time, it also, I think it speaks well when you are not only one thing, but you're able to provide different other things on the same realm, let's say.
For sure. No, 100%.
That's amazing. I love it. Now, have you found that playing characters sometimes reveals truths about yourself that perhaps at that point, you weren't ready to face somehow?
Yes, of course. I think that's the beauty of acting is no matter what character you play, you're always going to bring a little bit of yourself into that character. And, there were definite times where I felt that. I remember my grandmother passed a few years ago, and I kind of locked that up to not think about it too much. And I had to film a commercial where I was really close with my grandma in the commercial. And I thought that was going to be super easy. Oh, I love my grandma. But when I did it, I realized, oh my gosh, I haven't faced this grief yet of that. And I've had that, when it comes to scenes with heartbreak and feeling betrayed. And it's like I said, it's the beauty of acting, but you have to put yourself into it. And I think you can't be safe. You really have to face that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Now, what has been harder for you? Either the moments of failure or the moments of success, and why?
I would definitely say the moments of failure because, the moments of success, obviously, a lot of the times for an actor, they're few and far between. And so I celebrate all of that. Failure, it happens more. And I think, especially every time you're told no, it definitely feels like, you're stabbed a little bit in the heart, your soul breaks. Obviously, it's necessary, but it's definitely been hard for me, those moments of failure just because you want to do this for your career. And so when people tell you no, it's that getting back, okay, getting back on. I mean, there are moments where I thought, I'm done, I don't want to do it anymore. Obviously I always come back, but I think, as any actor would know, you have that in your soul to always come back. There have been times where, believe me, I'm like, I wish I could have been born wanting another career, but this is the only career that I want. So, those moments of failure, they really hurt, especially when it's something that you put your heart and soul into and other people might not understand your art. So, it can be difficult.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, at the end, acting is more than just learning your lines and you're good to go, right? That's what people might think. And yeah, I can understand that. But sometimes I think, right, that the moments of success can be challenging at some point, especially if you are kind of stepping out into the next game, right? If you're booking one thing and then the next one, the next one, the next one, the next one, right? I think sometimes perhaps that can be challenging. So as at some point, because you need to, I mean, you want to be always to be at the top of your game, right? So
No,
yeah.
100% for sure. I feel like, you wonder how long am I going to be in this position of success? And, it is hard to it's hard to think, okay, will I maintain this or will I not? So that's definitely difficult as well. I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially because sometimes it can take you 10, 15 years, it's for you to kind of step into the next game. And then of course, I mean, I would assume that it's challenging because you want to stay on that phase, let's say, right? I think one quick example for that would be, for example, Pedro Pascal, right? He was acting for years, and then suddenly one thing hit, and now we basically are seeing him everywhere. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
that's
that's so
pretty cool.
true.
That's pretty cool. Now, do you think the pursuit of recognition can change an actor's relationship with their own craft?
I think it definitely can. I think, when you're into acting, you have to always remember your craft while you're doing it. And I think sometimes, and not every actor wants to be recognized. Every actor wants that feeling of at least people knowing their work, wanting to cast them in these roles. I think sometimes when it gets to a certain extent, you can forget why you're doing the craft in the first place. And I think we've seen that time and time again with certain actors, obviously just with role choices or, their public persona, forgetting, why they did this in the first place. And I think that's why I remember when I was in California, I took a few acting classes and I would see people that had been really successful in these acting classes with me, like in a garage. And I realized, you have to go back to the foundation, the beginning, and just do scenes with other actors. You're never going to be, you always have to, exercise your craft. And so I thought that was so interesting because you can definitely tell which actors care the most about acting and the foundation versus, maybe some that are in it just for the recognition or fame.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. How do you protect your own identity when you're constantly slipping into the lives of others?
I think I'm definitely the kind of actor. There's two kinds of actors, some that work from, the inside out or the outside in. And I definitely feel like, for instance, I don't know, I'm just coming up with something that's very basic for everyone to remember. Like when Daniel Day-Lewis was Abraham Lincoln, you put on the top hat, you put on the costume, you study the voice, you give him a walk, and then you become that character. For me, it's very similar. As soon as I take off the makeup for that character or take off the costume or whatever it is, I'm myself again. And, you really have to always make sure that you have people around you, even if it's just one person, to kind of snap you back into this is who you are. Because there's definitely roles that can, make you go down this rabbit hole of who am I, or, am I this person? And so I think it's definitely just creating your own safe place. But it's definitely like that for me. Even when I do a self tape, if I just wear my hair a little different, as soon as I take that style off, I know, okay, I'm Grace again. Or if I'm feeling a little hard to get out of a certain character, I just call my mom and I'm definitely brought back to, okay, this is reality. This is who I am. And it's very important to at least have one person or one thing that kind of brings you back to yourself again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. I start to discover why you're badass. You're giving me these vibes.
Right. Oh, thank you.
I love it. I love it. Now, if storytelling is a mirror of humanity, what part of humanity do you hope your work reflects?
I would definitely say realism, and the human experience. I'm someone that's definitely attracted to shows like that. I watched recently Somebody Somewhere on HBO Max or Afterlife, which is something that Ricky Gervais did. And I think emotion is the thing that really brings you in to real life. I definitely want that in my work because, you can have, don't get me wrong, I love period dramas and big costumes and action and things happening, but I definitely want that realism, the human experience that everyone can really identify with. And I think those are shows that are just the most successful. I think it's just so important to have that authenticity.
Do you think an actor's greatest performance is one that entertains, one that heals, or one that makes people uncomfortable?
It's difficult because I think it has to be all three. And that's what makes the best performance. I'm trying to think of something that everyone would kind of know. Like for instance, the movie Saving Private Ryan. You want to have something that entertains people. And entertains doesn't mean like it's comedy, slapstick, dancing, but something that, people obviously were watching it because they're interested in the history, they're interested in characters, they're interested in plot. They also feel uncomfortable because it might be, a subject of something that they can't believe is happening on the screen, whether that be the extreme like violence, or it could even just be, a character making a decision or saying something or being cringy, something that, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. But then you also want the third thing, you want that at the end to, whether that be peace, coming to the end of a story, a character storyline, all three, I think, I mean, you can have one, but I think all three really make a good movie or make a good performance or play, whatever it may be.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. What do you think that is the cost of vulnerability for you? Not just in front of the camera, but in general, like in life.
Mhm. It's been a struggle with me for being vulnerable. I mean, I've just recently, the past few years, really just started that journey. Because I remember when I was in high school, I was taking an acting class, and my teacher told me, okay, just scream. You need to just like let out a shriek. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't let myself be vulnerable enough to do it. And the class was watching me, and I felt terrible about myself. And then as I went through college and started taking acting classes, I realized that people never judge those who are vulnerable, and they always had the best performance. And then, in real life, they also were the most, they went through their heart, and they always were the most successful. And so I just let myself go one day. And, it is scary, especially as an actor, being vulnerable. I think a lot of actors, they want to always be seen as pretty and perfect. And so you have to do some roles that aren't pretty and perfect. You have to, really let yourself go to get into this role. I feel like even in real life, I started doing YouTube and social media recently. It's scary because you're not just like, oh, this is my character. You're yourself, and you're showing, your real life, who you really are. You're not always looking perfect. And so it's taken a lot, but even in my personal life, just being vulnerable and telling people how I feel and making decisions that I've always wanted to make. It's been hard, but it's been rewarding. I think it's very important to be vulnerable, especially in certain parts of your life.
If you could whisper something into the version of yourself that just recently was starting out, right? Those baby steps, what would
Mhm.
it be?
Probably, I would say, don't let them get you down. And no matter what, keep going. I definitely say that.
More badass, you say. Okay. Now, do you believe your art will outlive you? And if so, what do you hope it says?
That's a good question. I hope it does. And even I would be happy, even if just my future ancestors down the line would watch something that I've done. That would even mean the most. But I hope it just says that I tried everything, I like we talked about, I was vulnerable, that I really, all of my film or maybe like plays held up to that day. There's some things, for instance, there's a movie I had watched, How Green Was My Valley. And that holds up for me till today, even though it was filmed a really long time ago. It still holds up, because of the human emotion. And that's something that I hope my work always has, is just connecting with humans, even if it is in a different time period. And just saying that, I did everything. I put everything that I had out there.
Now, jumping to our next section, speed round questions, yes, no, or pass. Super simple. Gonna ask a couple of questions. You can only answer yes, no, or maybe pass. You
All right.
ready?
Yes.
So, do you believe every role changes you?
Yes.
Have you ever turned down a role that, you're still thinking about?
Yes.
Do you think rejection is a gift?
Yes.
Okay. Is acting more about truth than talent?
Yes.
Is starting small underrated?
No.
Have you ever felt more at home in a character than in your own skin?
Yes.
Do you believe success without pain exists?
No.
Have you ever considered leaving acting behind?
Yes.
Do you think the world still values great storytelling over quick entertainment?
Yes.
And do you believe patience is more valuable than speed in a creative career?
Yes.
Okay. And a bonus one quickly. Can you cry on cue?
Yes.
There you go. Okay. Now, tell me, if this conversation, right, was the last time you ever spoke about your craft, what would you want to leave behind in people's hearts?
Oh, wow. I would say, I honestly would just say, when I started doing this, I love acting so much. I love performing so much. I wouldn't be myself without it. And it's just something that means the world to me. And, it hasn't always been easy, but no matter what, I'm still going to be trying, persevering. And no matter what I do, I'm always going to do something with entertainment. And I just want to let people know that it's just something that really is in my heart and it means the world to me. So, yeah.
Okay. And what motivates you? We all have those days that basically we just want to quit. It's inevitable, happens to all of us. So how you stay, yeah, positive on a day that, it's one of those days.
All it honestly takes is for me to watch a TV show or a movie where there's a role that I want to play. And I'm immediately like, oh my God, I could have had that role. And I'm immediately motivated again. I'm reaching out, talking to my agent, emailing others, just trying to get back in there. That honestly is all it takes for me is just to see a role. Also, just I think I look at old photos, like if I come across an old photo of myself or something and remember why I'm doing this, I can snap back into it and be motivated. I know I won't be 100% happy unless I'm doing this for the rest of my life. So I'm like, well, better get back in it. And normally when I do get that like spike of motivation, something positive comes out of it. Like, when I did my documentary, I was like, what am I going to do? And I went to this museum. I was like, I guess I'll try to do it. I'll try to do this. And I got that spark of motivation. And oh my God, it turned out amazing. I'm so happy I did that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? My last question here. So we can all enjoy and relax after an epic chat here. Tell me, what do you think that could be the best title for this episode?
I would say, because this is something that I call myself, I would say chatting with a wannabe actress.
Chatting with a wannabe actress?
That's like my motto. That's the name of my YouTube channel. Life of a
Okay.
wannabe actress. I feel like that's me.
Okay. Sounds
Yeah.
interesting. I'll take it for sure. And Adil, what can I say? The fact that you're pursuing something that is outside the typical 9 to 5, it's bad. I mean, that's already badass. You know what I mean? Because we know that it's difficult for sure. It's challenging, especially starting something outside of that. It could take you to moments in which you're like, what the hell am I doing? Because you basically have to construct this whole thing on your own, but you're making it happen, and I think that is super cool because you're showing out there that dreams can be true. That dreams can come true if you actually put the work on. Sure, there's gonna be moments in which you want to quit, but I do think that it's just part of the journey, right? It's part of the experience. We are not machines at the end of the day, but my point here is that you're showing that everything's possible, and I think that is super positive and amazing. And I think this type of attitude that you have is something that we desperately need right now in this crazy day and era. The fact that we can rely on you, it's amazing. And now I discover why you're bad at. So there we go.
Well, thank you so much. And yeah, I think at the end of the day, everyone has different versions of what success is. I thought there was a certain version that I was going to go to, but I think as long as you're doing what you love, that's successful. That's all you have to look. So I really appreciate your kind words. Thank you so much.
Boom. I love it. I do want to thank also those who stayed the whole episode. Let us know what you think in the comments below. But by this point, come on. You should know why Grace is super badass. Let's follow her. Let's share some love. Hashtag Team Grace. And again, thank you for making this happen. Keep shining out there. Keep rocking. Keep kicking ass. And I'll definitely be seeing you in the next one.
Thank you so much. It was nice talking with you.
Same here.